Hey guys, it's Alexandra. Today I'm going to be talking with Denne, who is board certified in music therapy. She's going to be talking about the neurologic work she does with her clients. She uses music to help anyone from a child suffering from ADHD to an elderly person suffering from dementia. So she works with all kinds of different people to use music as a way to help change the function of the brain. So I think it's really interesting. It's a lot more than just coming up with a motivational playlist to help you get through the day. It's actually very scientific, and I think it's something that's really cool to look into. So I hope that you will check out the rest of our interview and subscribe for more videos. All right, thank you.
I just found out that if you're in a coma, they play the music that you like.
Hello, music therapist here. This is true. The reason that they do this, it's called a disorder of consciousness. When you are in that state, they do this because music is the only thing that in an MRI machine that actually lights up both sides of your brain. So when you're in that state, they try to give you the proper amount of brain stimulation, and by playing familiar music that you either grew up with in your childhood or music that your family members know that you love, it actually helps stimulate the brain and can help activate the motor cortex, the language cortex, and helps with command following and all of those other things. So yes, this is a real thing. It is backed by research. And yeah, I work with this population, so the more you know. I work with kids with emotional behavior disorders, and a lot of times they struggle with their attention skills, their organization skills, their quick thinking skills. So I use this intervention to help with all of those things, because the cool thing about music therapy is that we get to manipulate elements of music to help with non-musical goals. Music teachers, we all know and we all love them. They probably taught you how to play these bells when you were in elementary school. They teach you about music and how to play music, whereas music therapy uses the elements of music to facilitate non-musical goals. So we can work on anything with social, emotional, behavioral, movement, and even sometimes academic goals. So music therapy is the clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions to accomplish a non-musical therapeutic goal. So what I mean by that is that we are able to manipulate the elements of music, and we're able to use the elements to our advantage to help with something that is non-musical. So for example, I like to use an example of a child with ADHD. A lot of times they have very poor impulse control. Sometimes they have trouble with focusing, or what we call sustained attention. So we can create music interventions that will help target that goal.
Awesome. So do you work with all kinds of ages, or do you mainly just work with children?
I work with all populations. So I work in neurorehabilitation. So I will work with stroke, spinal cord injury, brain injury, both pediatric and adult. And we also have a lot of community systems in our healthcare network. So I will work we have an aphasia center, we have dementia care, memory care, assisted living, and we also have a pediatric program as well. So I'm all over the system.
Awesome. So when when you start working with somebody, what do some of the activities that you do with your patients or your clients, I guess I should say, what does that look like?
So it's very dependent on the client. So it varies per setting, but I personally practice neurologic music therapy, which is an extra credential that we have to get as board certified music therapists. You have to be first board certified,
through a program that is accredited by the American Music Therapy Association. And then you can go on to do continuing education and do certificates such as the neurologic music therapy training. But so I will use that philosophy, and I will choose from a list. We have about 20 interventions in NMT that we will use, and with clients in the neuro rehab setting. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. So I'll usually choose one of the interventions depending on what the goal is. So we usually work with the interdisciplinary team, so speech, physical therapy, and occupational therapy, and they will refer music therapy and say, hey, we're working on impulse control, or we're working on fine motor movements, which is like your small motor movements, or gross motor movements, which are going to be like your larger movements. And we have an intervention that we will tailor to that patient or client.
Nice. So what are some of those techniques that you really have been able to see the most impact with?
It's not, I wouldn't say it was technique based. It's more of the client themselves. So everybody is hardwired for music, whether we realize it or not. Music is one of the only things that, if you were to look at our brains in an MRI machine, your brain like lights up when you're doing certain activities. So if you're doing an organizing activity, the front part of your brain will light up. Or if you're doing a speech activity, the left side of your brain will light up. When you're doing music, both sides of your brain light up at the same time. And we use that to our advantage. We do, because when you have a stroke or even a child with a disability, we are engaging both sides of their brain at the same time, and it reacts differently in everybody's brain, but both sides are being utilized, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's so interesting that people don't associate therapy with music at all. Like the natural instinct is to think that music is for entertainment, when really it's so cool to learn how it can actually be used to help people, with stuff that's going on in their brain. And that's really cool, I think. Do you have any experiences that you remember, in particular, working with any specific client that really made you feel like your work was, going to good use and really helping somebody?
Yeah, I can think of a few. There's clients will show that the music is working in a variety of different ways. So I was recently working with one client, and we were doing a protocol. She had a speech and language disorder, and we have a protocol that is backed in neuroscience research. All of those NMT techniques are backed in neuroscience research, but because I'm a younger music therapist, I've only been in the field for about a year and a half now, I haven't gotten to see some of the protocols, over a long period of time. In our hospital, we have a length of stay from anywhere of like 2 to like 6 weeks, I would say. So some of these protocols there's been research on them where they work over 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, those types of things. So I recently got to see that with someone. I was seeing them once a week for an hour, and we started, and she could barely say, I want chicken fajitas for dinner or something. And by the time that our 6 weeks was up, she was actually able to substitute that word out to make it even more functional. So if she didn't want chicken fajitas for dinner, she can say, I want spaghetti for dinner. I want, tacos for dinner. I want steak for dinner. And that was really, really cool to see for me, because I was like, wow, like the research was correct. Like if you do it for 6 to 8 weeks, then you can start to see, I saw the process from beginning to end. And it's really nice to be able to see that. Or when my little kids, some of them are nonverbal, and if I can get them to sign please, or if I can get them to sign thank you, or independently choosing an instrument, those are very, very small things that we don't think about that really do make a big impact. And music itself is motivating, especially for kids. So half the battle with kids is getting them to want to do things. If you tell a kid, oh, you have to raise your arm up 50 times, they're going to be like, no, I'm not doing that. But you stick an instrument in their hand and you have a song that goes up and down and up and down, and suddenly they've raised their arm 50 times and they didn't even know. So it's kind of like ninja therapy.
Yeah, that's awesome. How have you been doing, like, have you been doing stuff virtually?
Some of our programming has moved virtual. I run a Parkinson's choir online. There's a lot of research with Parkinson's choir and or with Parkinson's disease and even dementia, both the populations I work with. But we've done a children's choir online. We have a Parkinson's choir online. Our program has an adaptive sports program for people living in the community with any type of disability. We have one of those groups online. I'm trying to think. Oh, we have an aphasia group online as well. So some of it is translatable online. It's a lot harder to do it online just because of feedback, and especially with the language disorders, it's sometimes hard to hear. But because of COVID, we're making it work. We're doing the best we can, and slowly but surely, some of our programming is coming back in person. So I'm hoping that happens very soon.
Awesome. And are there any things that your program is looking forward to, like any next steps or goals that you're looking forward to?
We're always looking to grow the program. I mean, honestly, just with the field of music therapy in general, like you were saying, people don't always think as music as therapeutic, or sometimes people will think of it as therapeutic and they're like, oh, do you just, make playlists for people? Or do you just, like walk around and like sing to people for like funsies? And I'm like, no, music is therapeutic and it can be used by yourself. When you go to the gym, you work out, you put a motivating playlist on. When you're sad, people have like sad playlists, right? Music is definitely very linked to your emotions. So music is therapeutic. It's just the way that music therapists use it. We are trained in such a way to be able to use the elements of music to be able to manipulate them in order to reach a goal that, is not otherwise reachable sometimes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciated hearing from you. I think I look forward to, looking through your videos and definitely implementing some of that stuff in there. I know I kind of jumped on you last minute. I was like, can you demonstrate? But I know you have a lot of good stuff on your TikTok. So I'll definitely check that out and incorporate some of that in there.
Yeah, our TikTok was a big surprise to us. It's me and my roommate, and she was recorded the original video that blew up, and we got so many views on that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like people want to actually like see what we're doing and they're interested in what we're doing. So we're still trying to figure out how to translate what we do over a 60-second video. It's kind of difficult to just show some of the things that we do, and a lot of the activities on our TikTok we do adapt to different levels. So some of them on there, like I try to say that this would be used with an older group of kids, or sometimes even with adults I'll use it for, but it can be used with a younger audience if it's adapted. So that's a huge thing with music therapy, is that we're trained to be able to adapt a lot of types of interventions for a lot of different ages, a lot of different populations, and a lot of different diagnoses. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much. I love the impact that you're making. I love to see people following and checking you out. I think it's so cool. Like I just found out about music therapy relatively recently, and I think it's just so fascinating. And I hope that you know how many people that you're impacting and helping. That's really awesome.
thank you. Yeah, it's very rewarding to see, for sure. And it's nice that I'm very lucky with my job because I work throughout our entire healthcare system. So I can see some people from all the way in the time that they're admitted into the hospital all the way out until they're in our community programs, and that could be upwards of a year to get through the entire system. So it's very, very cool to see, and I know that other music therapists out there get to see those types of transitions as well. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
thank you for being interested in music therapy and
Yeah.
letting me explain kind of like what I do, and all the schooling and certifications and stuff that it does require to become a board certified music therapist.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, good luck, and I look forward to keeping up with your content. I'll definitely reach out to you once this is all put together, and hopefully we can stay in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, nice meeting you.
You too.